Greetings, Augies worldwide. I'm Dave Kassler, amateur radio call sign KE0OG, and we're here with another episode of Ask Dave, this time to talk about some various and sundry troubleshooting issues that people have run into, everything from having trouble with digital radio to getting a repeater to come in on a handheld. So let's take a look. We have with us our Ask Dave editor for the summer, Trevor Oman, who has done an outstanding job of collecting all of the questions that come in and presenting them here. You too can ask a question, send your question and any supporting pictures or whatever to hamradioanswers@gmail.com, or you can use www.dkassler.com/ask-dave. Either one will work. They both go to Trevor, and we'll try to get all of these questions answered as they come in. So, Trevor, what do you have for us today?
All right. So, Tom, call sign WN7B, has a receiving problem with his TYT THUV8000D.
Okay, the difference between the D model and the E model is that the E model has a crossband repeater built into it. The problem is that he is programming repeaters in and he can't hear them. And the first thing that comes to mind is sometimes repeaters put out a tone or something like that. And if you, and most of the time they don't. Now, if your radio is set so that the repeater coming to you, in other words, receiving the repeater, requires a tone, and the repeater doesn't have it, it won't break your squelch. So check your programming to make sure that you only put the tone out on transmit, that you don't require a tone on receive. I'm pretty sure that that's the problem in this case.
All right. Call sign W1LEM from Lem asks about his Tentec Jupiter. He's having an overheating problem.
Well, the Tentec Jupiter is pretty bulletproof. In fact, if you put a fan on that, the heatsink on the back, you can operate full power indefinitely on that thing. It is a bulletproof radio. If it's suddenly starting overheating, I'm thinking you might be using quite a lot of power on FT8, close to the 100 watts. You should turn it way down to about 25 max, maybe. It is fundamentally a QRP mode. And if you put a lot of power out there, you're stepping on other signals. So try and keep yours a little bit less. And that should help with the overheating problem. If it's really getting so hot you can fry an egg on it, there might be something wrong with the Jupiter. But like I said, that thing is designed to be pretty bulletproof. Heats up as soon as you turn it on, shuts it down after 15 minutes. It sounds like independent of mode. Something is going on in there. I would get with somebody in your club who's familiar with Tentec gear and do a little bit of troubleshooting. One thing you can look for is over voltage coming in, too much voltage on the power input. It should be 13.8 volts. It will go as high as 14. It does not take higher than 14 volts, so make sure you don't exceed that. And also, let's see, get an AQSO or two before it shuts down, independent of. Make sure that you're not transmitting too much power. That's about all I can think of. It should not get hot like that. Now, one of the problems with Tentec is there's no official service available right now. There is an organization that's trying to resurrect the Tentec name. So look around on the web and see if you can find service for that you trust.
All right. Call sign Dennis, call sign WW9T, has a question about minimizing signal loss from a distant tower.
He's got a 160-foot cable and wants to work UHF. Just about any cable you buy, that's too far. For VHF, you've got to get those antennas closer. You would do better to have those antennas up on the roof with a much shorter coax than trying to do the full 160 to get to the top of the tower, because you're going to lose too much. Now, you do bring up the possibility of a preamp. a bidirectional, something that senses the RF and knows which way to go. A preamp as close as you can get it to the antenna will be helpful. And then you can take your losses in the coax. The problem with not doing that is that the low signals are just totally down in the noise by the time they get to the end of that coax. So would a preamp work? It's got to be something that senses RF and it protects itself when you're transmitting. Yes, it would help. It would help on the sending too, because you're going to lose a lot at 160 feet. Even if you put in, LMR 400 or LMR 600 or something like that, that's an awful long ways for VHF. Better to put an antenna on the roof, just mounted right on the roof.
Alan, call sign KN4CKZ, has a Darkwood digital level meter and a FLDG launch problem.
FLDG launch, okay, he's trying to run this digital level meter with his FLDG. You know that built into Windows are levels indicators for sound. If you go to the control panel and then go to sound and work your way both through the playback and the recording is your microphone, the playback is your speakers, and you can play with levels in there and actually see how much you're getting. I would suggest you you put your mic gain somewhere in the middle of its range, mic gain on the radio, somewhere into the middle of its range, and then turn up the level coming out of FLDigi until the radio's AGC starts to kick in. Now, normally that kicking in is okay for single sideband, but for digital modes like PSK31 and all of the other modes, you start to get some phase distortion in there and some splattering. So you want to turn up the signal till you get to the point where the AGC is just starting to kick in, and then back off just slightly so that it doesn't kick in, and that is when you get your most linear output. Also most linear if you've got your power output kind of in the middle to the low end of its range. You shouldn't be putting out more than about 20 watts on PSK31 and sometimes better even less.
Stephen, call sign KC3FRJ, has a communication error on his Baofeng RD5R.
Well, there's a couple things to look at whether you're using the COM port. Go into Control Panel and look at Devices, Device Manager, and go down to the Ports section in there, open that up and see which COM port is assigned when you insert that cable, and make sure you tell the software which one that is. The other possibility is you're using a cable that has one of the older prolific chips in it. If it does, it's not going to work with Windows 10. It just won't. There are really esoteric workarounds for that, but I'm thinking probably the COM port issue is what's holding you back.
Fedner, call sign NZ4FNL, has a question about connecting a Yaesu FT897D with a Signal Link USB for digital mode, as well as Homebrew USB for digital mode.
Okay. The Signal Link USB works essentially with any radio. You're taking the audio output and the audio input and running it through the Signal Link. The Signal Link acts as a sound card. Okay, so it doesn't plug into your audio, it plugs into your USB and acts as another sound card. So you need to tell your digital software that you're using that particular sound card. It comes up as USB audio codec, and make sure you're getting the right one there. Can you still use your CAT interface at the same time with log for OM? Yeah, sure. I do the same with my radio. I use whatever software controls the radio, and at the same time do it with the sound card. It turns out the Yaesu has a built-in sound card. It works pretty good. Can you homebrew a USB for digital modes? Well, homebrewing a sound card is a real problem. They're actually extremely sophisticated and complex devices. However, you can get them in the form of dongles or just a little one. I have one about the size of a postage stamp that I use on my laptop because the headphone jack has been used so much on my laptop that it's broken. So I just got a little sound card. I think I paid $7 for it on Amazon, and it works as my sound card now. And I plug my headphones into that. It works very, very well with the minimal change, and certainly $7 costs less than having the laptop repaired. Well, that's our questions for today. So thank you, Trevor, and thank you all for joining and listening. Be sure to subscribe and be sure to like and share this video with others so that they too can enjoy Ham Radio Answers and Ask Dave. And also, please check out the support page at www.dcasler.com/support. There's a link to the tip jar there. There's also a link to the Patreon support page there too. Also, there's some cool Amazon links that go to things you might like to buy. The price is the same as it would be otherwise, except I get a little bit of a finder's fee to help Ham Radio Answers. So, thanks very much, Trevor. Thank you, all you Augies. I love you guys. This is great fun, and we'll talk to you all later. And until we next meet, 73.